are you? I am Stephanie Van Bark. You are here at Just Talking Business, and you are talking to a small business owner. So thank you for joining us today. So today's show is actually going to be with someone who runs and is the executive director of a nonprofit. I'll let them introduce who they are and what nonprofit. I've known this gentleman for, I want to say decades now, but I think I'll be telling our age if I keep saying that kind of stuff. But anyway, today's conversation is really going to be about both business, commerce. It's going to look at advocacy. It's going to look at service and the business of advocacy and service. So we're very excited to have Brother Lyle Muhammad. Thank you very much.
Such an honor and such a pleasure. And like I was saying before, it's like a reunion for me. You know,
Exactly.
I don't know if people know, there, Stephanie, but you were one of the very first community persons I had a chance to grow and build relationship with in the mighty community of Overtown. So I'm indebted and forever grateful.
Thank you. And look, you took the challenge and ran with it, and we have been much safer as a result of it. Trust me. It has been really wonderful to see you evolve over the years, because you're now over this very amazing organization. If you could share with us who you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm. So I have the honor, family. First of all, my name is Brother Lyle Muhammad, and I have the honor of serving as the executive director of the Circle of Brotherhood. And for those who aren't familiar with the Circle of Brotherhood, you already know business-wise, people. Just go ahead and social media, you know what to do. But the bottom line is you're talking about an organization of primarily Black men from all walk of life. And that's a unique phenomenon in itself. We're talking about brothers who are, some are from the streets, some are from the suites and don't know anything but the suites and nothing about the streets. You have people from different religious backgrounds, but we believe that together we can solve our own community problems. And we've been together since 2012 and officially incorporated as an organization since 2014.
Okay, very nice. You said it yourself, and I was looking at your mission, that it involves Black men solving community problems. Okay, first of all, let me say I'm in a sorority, so this is not judgment, but why just Black men?
Well, I mean, it's so important to understand that there's so much that we're supposed to do together as a community. And there's so much we're supposed to do about our underdeveloped selves. And let's just be clear. There has been a consistent target to underdevelop and uninvolve our Black men in community affairs in so many ways. And then the other avenue of that, to be quite honest, is we've also played a destructive role. And so so the other side of that coin is that we can look going back into the annals of chattel slavery and see how our Black women have carried us in so many ways. And it's our time to do what we can, what we know we should be doing.
Okay, very much. So what do you feel like both the economic impact is if Black men don't get involved, and what is the social impact if Black men don't really step up into these roles that you are trying to really guide this process?
You know, when you talk about business and commerce, and you talk about sales and marketing, the Black man, even still today in 2025, is number 15 on the endangered species list.
That is the wildest thing I've ever heard. I have heard that. Yes.
And so when you start thinking about, even if you want to just think about it from a business perspective, about a complete clientele, a population of people being wiped off the face of the planet Earth because social reality does not meet economic reality. And back in 2015, it was a national organization run by a brother by the name of Sean Dove that was setting up promise communities across America. And they noticed an increase in Black male activity in Miami. And it put their eye on the work that we were doing in the Circle of Brotherhood. So when Black men increase their activity in community development, in social development, in mentoring, it automatically increases the economic stability of our communities.
Okay. So, but now we're in trying times right now. There's a lot of conversation around DEI. which we know is
Right.
going to impact Black and Brown communities significantly.
Mhm.
So, when you have Black men in your mission statement, do you feel like that will help or harm during this dynamic? Um, and are you preparing for either or?
I'm glad you asked that. And just so people know, our organization has been directly affected by the
Mhm.
atmosphere of budget cuts across America. As a matter of fact, we were one of 365 organizations that had our federal grants and gun violence prevention immediately cut on April 22nd. So we're directly affected. Immediate loss of about $608,000, let alone some of the other projects and things we had going on.
Wow.
But here's the most important thing. If your business is involved in a mission and a purpose, you can't afford to sacrifice your own belief because someone else is threatening the financial stability of a vision or a mission you created. So we got to get out of that habit first.
Mm-hmm.
If we believe in our mission, the very first thing that we did when we got hit with budget cuts is we didn't go knocking on the door and say, give us our money back. We said, how can we become sustainable? And the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing, because we have built proper relationships, is that the community and the philanthropic world is also coming to assist us in this. So, family, you got to make sure you maintain belief in your business idea and concept if it's real.
Right, right, right. But I mean, okay, so I was reading through some of the information about the nonprofit sector just in general. There seems to be a variety of different numbers out there, but what seems to be happening is around 1.4, between 1.4 and 3.7 trillion dollars is generated by or is revenue generated by nonprofits. Um, a lot of that, not a lot of that going into Black and Brown communities. There, I've seen the ebb and flow. There was a period where it picked up around the George Floyd dynamic, and now we're really going to be shifting on the pendulum swing. What kind of strategic conversations are you having? And was that do you feel like you have the foundational support to really get yourself back in line where you need to be?
I'm glad you mentioned the George Floyd time period in
Hmm.
relation, particularly to Black philanthropic dollars to nonprofits. And if those, you really want to get a good marker, just like in the religious world, how we measure time through BC and AD,
Hmm.
in the Black philanthropic world, you can measure it through before George Floyd and after George Floyd.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
One thing we knew is that this could be a one-time only
Hmm. Hmm.
situation in terms of the amount of money. But I must say there was some tremendous work and some ground that was gained with that. But you said the key thing, Stephanie, you talked about having strategy. And so our strategy in itself, number one, is to always, always, first of all, produce a product of excellence.
Hmm.
That can never be sacrificed. Whatever your business is, if your business is people, if your business is product, if your business is service, never, ever, ever sacrifice the mastery of producing an excellent product. And so when times like this hit, our product in the circle of brotherhood is so excellent that it has to be respected in such a way. And I'll give a concrete example. Right now in Miami-Dade County, our county is suffering major, major economic hits.
True.
And one of the messages that I sent to some of the officials in the county is don't throw in the towel so easy. There are strategic things that need to be done. And let's be honest, when you talk about nonprofits also support private business and
Yeah,
private
that's
industry.
true. That's
So
true.
all private industry that benefits in Miami-Dade County has stock to play in this. But a lot of that just comes down to Stephanie relationship building and people being related to one of the best business theories I ever learned as a young man. It's called the WIFM theory, WIFM. What's in
Hmm.
it for me? Once
Okay.
people know what's in it for them, they can understand why the cooperative benefit of working together economically benefits us all. So our stance is, first of all, there are enough people who believe in our work to raise money, and our results also speak for itself. And I want to give one more example. One of our partners, a national collaborative organization in the gun violence movement, talk about strategic planning. They applied when they saw the atmosphere that was coming about with the pending political change in January. Mm-hmm. They applied for an international grant that was called the Audacious Grant. Mm-hmm. And it was called Audacious for more than one reason. But the bottom line is that they received the grant. So when the federal cuts hit, they were already ready to pivot and make other things happen. So we do have to be strategic, but we cannot sacrifice our vision if we believe in our businesses and mission.
Now you're the third person I've interviewed recently that sort of said that same thing, that there's been a shift in particular in a variety of industries, but nonprofit as well, of global identifying and trying to create those global opportunities. Have you been able to do something like that? Are you seeking to do something like that? And, how do you get started in a world called nonprofit trying to go around the world?
Being true to your mission and your vision. The Circle of Brotherhood started from some Black men that were meeting in the pork and beans every Saturday to exercise, get to know the neighborhood, and get to know each other. And now our entity is known not only from the outhouse to the White House. We just recently had an international documentary that was released in 17 different languages on the work that we're doing. Stay true to the work and to the mission. And I say that first. But secondly, it's important for people to measure your impact and measure the sustainability needs that you have. I tell people in business all the time, Stephanie, that one of the things that we fail to do is we don't start off with our Bugatti budget. Mm-hmm. And that Bugatti budget is, what does this look like for real? We're so used to doing without, we're so used to having to cut corners, we never see our vision in full reality. And so with that, and then the proper building of partnerships, you're able to basically have people call an investment back. I'll give you an example. There's a report being released this week that shows that we have played a role in reducing gun violence, particularly in zip codes 47 and 42, by more than 83%.
Wow, that's impressive.
Which has led the actual pathway to the entire homicide rate dropping across the county. And those statistics come from the medical examiner's office.
They didn't even come from you.
Right, exactly. So my point is, there has to be a return on that investment if we want to continue to see these kind of things. But politics can play a very, very critical role in either supporting or ignoring efforts. But people who are in business, I'll give you one more example, is that we always understood that in this work, that it's not just about surviving off of grants and donations. Good. It's about providing service. It's about providing training. It's also about eventually producing products. So we do have some innovative things in line with folks who are going to come and help us become pivot, if you understand, from understanding how, and nonprofits, let's just keep it real. You might want to start thinking about developing a for-profit arm that goes along with the nonprofit so that we can sustain in that way.
Now, so then you mean they're actually products, not widgets, but service projects, training projects, things of that nature that you are already as part of your revenue stream.
Absolutely. For example, there are already organizations across the country that want chapters of the Circle of Brotherhood.
Nice.
There are already organizations that are doing violence prevention intervention work and youth development work who want our training module.
Okay.
And then at the same time, when we begin to start actually producing products, I understand that there used to be in Overtown, speaking of example, there used to be a bottle cap factory in Overtown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think about it. Think about if we control the revenue to all bottle caps in Miami-Dade County, all bottle caps in South Florida. So it's not just a handout, give us money. There's a lot of things that we should start looking at that can generate revenue for our missions and causes that are worthwhile.
Now, I will say nonprofits, what I found interesting. So, you and I, again, we've been around for a minute. So we've been through the 2008, what was it? What was it? Not, what was
Housing recession then, and
housing? That's the word I'm looking for. 2008 housing. We've been through hurricanes. We've been through COVID. So this is a market that's uniquely designed to already be in preparation for disaster. And, I find it interesting that nonprofits tend to already sort of be in line in that manner. You're already sort of thinking ahead of time. So has that been just kind of the nature of the business that prepares you for those kinds of shifts and evolutions? Or, you just trying to figure it out as you're going along?
Stephanie, I think that question really comes down to leadership.
Mhm.
I'll just be very candid with you. When I have come across some missions who I thought were just so worthwhile, and I hear people like, "Oh yeah, we closed it down."
Mm.
I'm like, "Wow, you gave up on that?" And then the point being is, if leadership isn't thinking about sustainability, you can forget about it. If leadership isn't building relationships, not even based on finances and resources, but based upon commonality. A lot of the relationships that we built over the years, we never, ever, ever started off asking an entity for finances or money. It was about the sincerity of the work and why it benefits us all together. So leadership also, and here's another thing, nonprofits that we have to slap our hand for. A lot of times we're so gung-ho about the missions that we have that we don't develop ourselves as business personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is a business too.
Right.
And so we have to develop the business acumen about not just surviving. We understand that it's tough. It's always been tough. We, just like you just said, all those particular kind of things, but if we don't have a vision for thriving, then what are we really working toward except our own extinction?
So when did that occur to you? Because we've had this, I've had some conversations with some other nonprofits.
I'm glad you asked that question.
And, nonprofits a lot of times focus a lot on the socialization and the service of it, but forget there's a business component here. When did it hit you? Okay, I've got to approach this from a different perspective.
I'm so glad you asked that question. And so it makes me start by saying see, we don't just do good work. We do God work. And I'll never forget in 2020, where the only funding we were receiving to do gun violence work was coming from the county, and the county was going to discontinue our contract if a particular individual was still involved. And so I'll never forget, first of all, because we believe in our mission, stepping away and allowing our other brothers to carry on that wonderful work, but going from a salary to zero and then watching God work. We begin to work, staying focused in the mission, ended up raising our own salary because we never sacrificed in the mission of the work. And then our work gained national attention. Okay. And when our work gained national attention, we began to be noted for, think about it. It's kind of strange. I'll be 59 in a few days and never been to the White House a day before in my life. And I've probably been 5 in the last 2 or 3 years.
Nice.
Because of the work that we do. So the national attention and light that was shined on our work, it also brought dollars that allowed us to build a staff. And also we had to fight. And that's another thing I want to let nonprofits know. You have to fight for what is yours as well, too. We were in the battle with the city of Miami for $1 million that was supposed to go toward gun violence and wellness work. And had we given that up? But, pretty soon, as a matter of fact, we'll be doing a presentation before the city about the awesome things that we were able to accomplish. But I only mention those things, Stephanie, to say that in this business, we have to understand the local politics, but we also have to understand that our work once it receives national light and attention, it kind of makes the local folk do what they need to do.
Right, right. Because, again, I was reading, just learning a lot. Black and brown nonprofits, it says operates at less than $500,000 a year, generally, the majority of them, which, according to the report I was reading, was both a celebration of how efficient these organizations are, being able to make, significant impact with little to no money, or, also just a statement on how we have not focused on this community. So I'll be honest, my fear right now with this change in administration, this change in DEI, makes me feel like it's going to be so much worse. So, if 20 to 30%, again, what I'm learning, 20 to 30% of most nonprofit dollars comes from government funding, that's a significant amount of money. That's a third of what you need. So, how quickly can a nonprofit pivot to adapt to a shift like this, in particular, Black and brown nonprofits who make less than $500,000 a year? That's no small feat.
No, it's not. And unfortunately, there are going to be casualties in every war. And business is warfare when it comes to our community. You remind me of a conversation I had with a good business mentor of mine, Baron Channer. And this was after we were hit by the loss of our grant. Remember, we had a $2 million 3-year grant that was just immediately cut by the government. And it was in talking to Bernadette, first of all, I realized the great work that we were doing. We have been so focused on the mission, Stephanie, that I didn't realize that it wasn't a norm for a community-based nonprofit like ours to be managing 3 multi-million-dollar federal grants. But on a high standard. Why do I mention that? We don't lack the capability to do this work. What we do lack, and where we do lack, is the trust and being able to come together when we need to come together. Let's just be clear. We see mergers all the time. We see collaborations all the time between some of these major institutions saving themselves from folding. And we also have to learn how to lean on each other where we work best. And we need to be having that kind of dialogue. But anybody who is sincere about staying alive, you either doing the work that's building your reputation, or you need to start leaning on the folks who believe in your work and in your mission. But with these times, I'll give you an example. You talk about what can we do? We went on a fundraising campaign on May the 7th after our budget cuts came on April the 22nd. The first call that I made, which is a call that we have to make as nonprofits to my CPA, is, first of all, when the cuts came, can we make payroll?
Yeah.
She said, and this is reality, family. I'm walking you through because I don't want any excuses.
Right.
And so once she said yes, I said, okay. And so I said, tell me how much money we're going to need down to the penny to keep our staff hired for at least 1 year. And she gave me that amount. It was around $1.6 million. I said, well, that is going to be our initial fundraising goal. So you have to go from survival, And so since May the 7th, we've raised nearly $300,000 since May the 7th to support that initiative. It's because we do excellent work. It's because we believe in our mission, and it's because we have built the relationships. And here's another thing, nonprofits, your data collection. Your data collection must show your work and your worth and your value in this modern day economy.
You tapped on something I was actually just thinking about. Of course, we're in the same market, and I've seen several organizations kind of pop up and do some of the work that you're doing. If I read correctly, a lot of what your focus is youth development. There's also some focus on crime and safety, and then economic development. So although you are in a nonprofit space, that's still competition of other organizations sort of doing the same thing. I'm pleased to hear you say that it's time to start having some conversations around how to strengthen what you're doing in the communities by collaborating and, potentially recognizing that there may need to be a better leader. What does that conversation sound like when you are looking through all of your competition and saying there's an opportunity for synergy here, and then there's a maybe not, but how are you managing those conversations with some of those folks?
When first of all, when we're never approaching, and this is an energy piece to this as well too.
Mhm.
And anybody who's been successful in business, it's just not all books. It's not just all numbers. There's spirituality involved and there's energy involved. And whenever we breathe the energy of competition in this work, we
Mhm.
lose. We lose.
Right.
We are in the work of saving and transforming human life. And there is no competition. There is a widening barrage of maybe opposition, but the point being is for us, there is no competition. It's about let he or she and what institution is best at doing what, let them do that work. And to be honest, Stephanie, the same framework that we're operating from now is the same one that we presented to the county and to the city and to South Florida back in 2018. And we haven't veered from that. We believe that our nonprofit organizations and our government suffer from a disease that we call institutional myopia. They only think about, they can only see their role. They can
Yeah.
only see their interest. And because of that, when you're dealing with an entire phenomenon in terms of human transformation, you limit and then you lack trust. And so we built successful coalitions like the Healing and Justice Center that we work with in both the communities of Overtown and Liberty City. And we're involved in national collaborative work that's going on. So it's collaboration over competition.
Okay. That sounds very exciting. So we have determined that, first of all, I do believe 100% Circle Brotherhood is going to be just fine. Because, I can attest to y'all are a powerful source in the community. You really have made such a significant difference. I feel just my little plug out there.
Which
But
I agree.
my little plug out there. So, what's next? I'm sure over the next year or so, as many of us are, small business, nonprofit, everybody is just trying to figure out how to maneuver this landmine that seems to be coming at us so quickly. Decisions are being made in 5 minutes flat. You just don't even know where to go. Have you had, and it sounds like you have, and understanding the market that we're in, have you had experience really being able to adapt in that way? And what's next? How do we just keep moving forward?
Great point. And for us, there's a double burden for us. And I'll tell you why I say that. But first of all, we're still living in the realities.
Mhm.
So far to this date, by the grace of God, we have not had to lay off or let go of any of our employees. And for us, that's significant. But we also understand the reality that may have to come. The other thing is we've decided, of course, we're not going anywhere, no matter if we have to scale down or what have you. But the double burden on us is this. We are a national model
Mhm.
of how to deal with crime
Yes.
and gun violence in our communities.
So you have to stay alive.
And so I'll never forget during the hunger strike when 9 of our brothers went on a 21 and a half day hunger strike, sleeping outside across the street from Liberty Square, when youth groups would come there. And we would honestly ask the young people if they believed that they would ever live in a world where gun violence wasn't rampant in our communities. And 99.99% of them coming in, they had no vision of that. But by the time they left the site of the Hunger Nine, and had the interaction, the overwhelming majority of them believed it was possible.
Mhm.
So the double burden for us is we know once people believe that this work is achievable, it'll explode over time. I'll
Mhm.
give one last example. We are currently more embedded right now in Lincoln Fields, now known as Buena Vista, than we ever have.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
where for those who don't understand, that's ground zero.
Right.
Let me say that again. For those who do not understand, that is ground zero. And so new management actually took it over in last year. And new management wanted to try some different approaches. So here now you talk about collaboration. You have the Overtown Youth Center working over there. You now have us working over there on the public safety initiative. And it's a slow grind, but things are dramatically and drastically changing because when we work together, we know that we can be a model. And once we have models, our people know that we can win. So stop talking about we don't know what to do. We do know what to do. We have to be a successful model.
And Buena Vista is more of a brown community. Am I correct?
Well, Lincoln Fields only changed by title and name to Buena Vista.
Mm-hmm.
It's our brothers and sisters
Okay.
living there. But you speak to something about the browning of our community, which is another issue to be tackled by nonprofits and business as well, too.
Yeah, because I mean, we're in Overtown. And it's definitely over the years that I've been here shifted from black to more of I guess almost an even divide of black and brown community. So and now again with going through immigration, what does that mean when we're looking at business? What does that mean when we're looking at nonprofit service? Those things are really becoming very tricky to maneuver. So, it's a strategic thing that you have to, I'm sure, talk about all the time and have in your arsenal of conversation all the time. But are you finding it to be easy collaborating in both markets?
What I'm finding is that the easiest collaboration is on the relationships that we built over the years.
Okay.
I'll be honest, it would be extremely hard, maybe even impossible for a nonprofit to have existed, hit with these budget cuts, not built relationships, and now go try to build those relationships.
Now, right.
Right.
By the way, I'm seeing some people who are saying they love you. They want us to support the Circle of Brotherhood, and I do support that. And the thing I would also say is, I know a couple of gentlemen that are deeply entrenched in this organization, and some of them staff, and they love working for you. And they love working for this organization. And I think that in and of itself is a commentary of how wonderful this organization is and how much it's been so impactful in this neighborhood. Hey, Pastor Brandon, how you doing? Tell us before you go how we can get in touch with you, which, by the way, someone did share your website, but please tell us how we can get in touch with you and how we can continue to support your work.
Right. So the easiest way, of course, social media these days is through our website. circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org, www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. For those who like to see something physically, we're blessed to be on 58,000 square feet of a former school known as Floral Heights, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue. It's a stone throw from the Caleb Center, but all of our social media platforms, we're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Circle of Brotherhood, and we're very, 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 very reachable, and we're very, 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 very community oriented.
And I can attest to that. Thank you again. We really appreciate you showing up today. And we will definitely try to get this information out. And when you're doing other things in the neighborhood, let us know. We'll push it out. Let everybody know.
It is my honor. And remember, your business is your business. So handle your business.
That's true. Thank you so much for those final words. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
So, everybody, those were words of wisdom. I think we need to take those to heart, especially business owners, whether nonprofit or for profit. It is very important we take those to heart. I think our last comment, we shared the address for their space. It's 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue. That's 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue. I have been there. It is really a cool spot. I think if they still do, it's been a minute, but I think they have a little workout spot over there. It's kind of cool. But at any rate, we'll see you here next week with another guest just talking business. So thank you so much. Be blessed and have a great day.